All right, well, let's call that the camera angle for this one and just move on. Welcome back, everyone. Crusty Old Crow coming back to you again on this fine, what is today, Tuesday? To carry on with the Tactical Perspectives series on comparatives here. So this is 87, the originals versus the current G.I. Joe Classified Collection, whatever the title said in the, in the thing. That's what we're doing today, guys. So you'll notice I started off with 82 as an individual year because in there I wanted to talk about the original line and what was really missing because it was a small line. It was the first wave. 83, 84, I combined those together because that was the follow-up success wave where Joe really picked up steam. But the reason those videos got combined is because a lot of those figures that we had at that time were already coming out or were out in the G.I. Joe Classified Collection, which is the focus of all this, as well as some of the sublines like the Retro series, right? And then we've also known about digital renders, things that are on their announcement board, and a few other things. Same deal with 85, 86, compressed into one episode. They were longer episodes, but again, most of those figures were out. I had very little input the way I did with 82 on certain characters. I had very little to say on it all as far as my tactical perspective and what I wanted to say about the figures. There just wasn't much. There was just a lot to go through. But 87 is its own thing today because I found quite a few things I wanted to just quickly go over in 87 as far as what was out and what we have currently available to us in G.I. Joe Classified, or what is coming, what we know from the spokespeople over at Hasbro, from Hasbro Pulse, and most recently some updates from my favorite Canadian Joe News Network, if you wanted to call them, Liam Dex over at Viper Island. They put out a new update today about some things that we can expect, but it's more of a confirmation. Remember last week I did that quick little sit rep update about it all. So today they did a quick one and they talked about the new Naga hide, and apparently the new head sculpt has been leaked by Hasbro online. I went looking for the images to show it to you guys. I don't have it, but Naga hide, it started off last week with knowing about his hat. Now this week we know about his head, and I saw that sculpt on their videos. If you get a chance, go check out Viper Island's most recent update on that on their news, Viper Island News, as well as Night Creeper. They showed some head sculpts of Night Creeper that have been shown, so we know Night Creeper is now coming into the G.I. Joe Classified line. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but that one's been in the pipe for I guess. I don't know how long it's been in the pipe, but it is going to come with two head sculpts, one more classic 80s style rendition of this guy, and then there's going to be one that's more of a combination of a bit of a nunchuck kind of feel to it, while simultaneously using the Snake Eyes Desert Commando head sculpt that we see with the Desert Commando Snake Eyes, that visor and the slitted mask. So saw that online today. Viper Island brought that to us. Thanks so much, Liam. But the biggest one that Liam had it on his window still cooling because fans were, oh my god, yes, it's happening. And you know, Crusty Old Crow, he just Crow, that's man now, and take off with it, right, guys? Doc was announced. Doc is in the pipeline. Doc is coming. So let's stop the debates because they just verified it today for us at Viper Island by letting us know that the head sculpt was out, and we got a little look at it, and they are going with the very classic Doc appeal of the head sculpt, with that facial expression of very serious and analytical nature from what I saw. So whether or not the kit loadout or the rest of the body is going to be following this up with some digital renders soon, no, I don't know, but Viper Island reminded me, and thank you again. That is in the pipe. It is coming. Whether it's going to be a 2024 release or a early 2025 release, I don't know, but I suspect 2024. Anyways, those things came out. So let's go to 1987 and we'll just get all through this because there's a few things we want to talk. So really quickly, guys, what was going on in 1987? Well, first off, old man Ryan got to get his glasses on, okay? And I got to make some introductions because I have a new guy in my staff who was employed at Hasbro in 1987. At least that's what he's got on his resume. And this is around the time that he joined the creative team, apparently. So, guys, I want you to meet Brent. Brent, go say hi, guys. Hey guys, how you doing? Brent here. It's really nice to meet you. I am excited. I am excited to meet you and you and you and you and you and you and you. Okay, Brent, just go stand in the back. So Brent comes to us. I guess prior to joining the Joe team, he was a part of the Star Wars creative team, and I never did ask the references why they separated ways, but we're happy to have him on board. Very excitable guy. So let's talk about 1987. Some things that were going on in 1987. Before I get into the music, before I get into the movies, I want to remind you Miami Vice was a very big show in 1987. For you youngins out there, that was a show starring Don Johnson. True story, Don Johnson did the voice for Falcone in the G.I. Joe movie. There you go. So yeah, very big in that time. Miami Vice was the big show on TV. But you know what else was good back then? And I'm not trying to stray from it, but we are talking about 1987. Around 1988 is when I stopped following which characters were coming out because of this problem. But also very popular in that era, Q King. Married with Children. But yeah, that came later. But yeah, Q King. Right, Brent? Right, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was there. I remember. It was there. Okay. So the music at the time of 87, now that you're kind of picturing the era, one of those big songs was, the big song of 1987 was the Bengals hit, Walk Like an Egyptian. How does that tie to Joe? Because in every show, Ryan, you've told us that this all ties to Joe. The whole world was about Joe, so back it up. I will. All right, Walk Like an Egyptian. Let's see. The Bengals, a female band, all girls, all sex appeal, and not bad music, I guess. Bengal Tiger, Bengal Tiger Force, Tiger Force. Okay, you think I pulled that one out of the hat? All right, I'll double down. 1987, we get action figures for Cobra La. Doesn't that sound Egyptian? It does, right? So that's the big one. And what was the big movie back then? And again, it is very much all about Joe. So the big movie back then was a little film. I don't know if you've heard of Beverly Hills Cop, starring Eddie Murphy and Judge Reinhold, but that was the big box office smash of the year. And there's the cast right over here. Sorry, I can't remember this actor's name off the top of my head, but there's Eddie Murphy and Judge Reinhold. Remember, the 80s were all about these two on the screen. And comedy, like Eddie Murphy was still on fire, right? So what do? You roll these two guys up, and how is that at all about G.I. Joe, right? Oh, I'm gonna tell you, it's about a little guy named Chuckles. All right, so you take the humor of Eddie Murphy and the straight man punchability of Judge Reinhold, and you mix it with a little bit of something that Brett was missing, right, Brett? Weren't you behind this? I sure was. I remember this guy, okay? So the best thing in the world, I pulled this one out, okay? I mixed him with a little bit of throwback to Magnum, because we all freaking missed him. Okay, Brent, that's enough. We all missed Magnum, yes. Okay, so a little bit of Magnum, and that's how we got Chuckles. There's your 87. That's how it happened. Okay, so what figures were out in 87, guys? I'm going to scroll through them, and then I'm going to go back and talk just really quickly about them, and then move to the the vehicles. The reason I'm doing this really quickly is I want to keep this under 40 minutes, or at least under 45, because, man, there's a lot to go over on these. So let me just do some mother cleaning on that. All right, so first in the line, we'll go through the figures there. 1987, we saw Big Boa, and we saw Chuckles. We saw Cobra Commander and Crazy Legs. We saw Crocmaster and Crystal Ball. We saw Falcone and Fast Raw. We saw Gung Ho, Jinx, Law and Order, Outback, Psych Out, Raptor, Sneak Peek, Techno Viper, and Tunnel Rat. And those are the only ones I'm just going to go off the cuff with about the core figure release, okay? So let's go back to the first one and just quickly talk about it. we're going to go back to Big Boa. So we know Big Boa came out in the classified line as a digital render so far. Brent, was this one of yours? It was. You want to speak to it? Sure do. Okay. Listen, guys. Joe missed the mark when it came to the movie Rambo. We just couldn't get to it in time. We all failed. We all failed. The whole team failed. I failed. You failed. Everybody failed. But right now, we still have Rocky, right? So Rocky. This is Rocky. Okay, thanks, Brett. So yeah, just a big throw out to Stallone and Rocky for the Big Boa digital render. I'm not a big fan of this. I will buy it just because I want it for my spec firefights at some point. But I really was not a fan of the Big Boa character. I am not excited, even with the digital renders being as well crafted as they are. Not excited, but you know, it pumps Copperhead. One more up on my list. It makes me want to go get my Copperhead more now. So we talked about Big Boa, so let's go back to Chuckles. Yeah, so Chuckles that came out as a PulseCon exclusive. I'm not sure if there's any plans. I haven't heard anything or anything like that. When or if we should ever expect this, maybe in the retro line with a low kit layout, or a re-release for something else. Like, oh my god, I don't know how you would do a Tiger Force Chuckles or Night Force Chuckles. I don't think you could, but you know, like along those lines to make it a more achievable regular collection item. We'll see. They've got to scale down some of these deluxe items eventually anyways. Like eventually, yeah, you want to make an accessible Mindbender, Blood, whatever. Even Blood wasn't a deluxe item. I shouldn't use that example, but Mindbender and Chuckles certainly were. So after we got around to Chuckles and Big Boa, you know, and again, Chuckles, very much what 87 was about. We got into Cobra Commander a little bit. Cobra Commander, but this time an up-armored version of Cobra Commander that we have mixed thoughts on, and I'm just going to go back to I had a earlier rendition of it pulled aside here on the old tablet, and of course my old man finger seems to keep wanting to scroll past it, so I'm just going to go right to that old card anyways. But this is the silver up-armored Cobra Commander that we were seeing alluded to in the Joe movie of the 2000s here, just the more recent ones prior to Snake Eyes. So right there, there's rumors and there's asks for this. As far as whether or not it's actually in the pipeline or not, I don't think that's been announced, but I get it wrong all the time, guys. At least I correct myself as much as I can, right? So after we got the Cobra Commander, we got into Crazy Legs. Did I have some stuff for Crazy Legs, or were we good on that? Crazy Legs, yeah, I did have some stuff on Crazy Legs. Sorry, so we're all aware the Dragonfly project had some tier unlocks, and Crazy Legs, whether you were aware or not, was one of them. Crazy Legs, I believe this is a Night Force variant. They're going to throw in as the tier unlock with the HasLab Dragonfly, and he's going to be joining Glenda from the animated series. I guess she's got the Scarlet mold that they built for Scarlet. They put it on Glenda first to test it out. Wild Bill and Ripcord, Night Force Ripcord, going to be coming in that as well. So Crazy Legs has been dealt with. That's good to go. I can move on from there. Crocmaster and Fiona. Well, I've got them right here. We know about them. We know that they're a part of the series. And Brent, is this your idea? Not me. Not this time. Nope. No, there was some guy from the Appalachians. I think he knew Gung Ho. Okay, that's enough with Brent. Go back and do whatever you do. Yep. Okay, good. Brent's good to go. We'll just get Brent out of the way. He's probably not going to talk too much more. But 80s Brent, guys. Okay, so after we got around to that, we wanted to talk about Crazy Legs Crocmaster. Yeah, we were talking about him. Okay, so up here north, this thing's being it's not just a peg warmer, it is a shelf anvil. The thing wasn't moving, so a lot of the big box stores were pricing it at 50% off, and some didn't. Some left it sitting at $69.99, but places like Toys R Us and a lot of other places were trying to let it go for around the $36 regular figure mark. And as I understand it, a lot of diorama guys and big fans of Joe, bigger fans than even I, who wanted to collect it a certain way, they bought more than one Crocmaster, and they did so for that fine Fiona. There she goes. Just ignore what I have out back doing to her right now. Clearly, he's just firing warning shots. Right, nothing but warning shots, guys. I don't make these for kids, but sometimes kids squeak through things, right? So anyways, we got Crocmaster in that release, and apparently it wasn't Brent's, but I feel like it was. I feel like he's an effing liar. Okay, Crystal Ball. So Crystal Ball came into that series, and that was a shout out to Vincent Price for anyone of the youngest of generations in my demographic. It's Vincent Price. You can look him up. I'm not going to describe Vincent Price, but as far as a rendition of Crystal Ball would go, we've seen some action figures reimagined in the past, but none of them really try to change Crystal Ball. And the reason why is because I think they almost got it perfect for him. And with the Vincent Price homage, he's not one I would F with. I'd leave him alone. I would definitely do him. I would actually start just doing him like this and leaving it like that. But I would release him concurrently with the Dreadnoks and all that other stuff just because he folds in so well with it all. I think everybody would enjoy Crystal Ball, even though that shield is a kind of wacky piece of kit to paw it off amongst all your other amazing equipment guys that have been modernized in this classified line. Crystal Ball, I think you got to do him retro. I think he has to have the Hypno Shield. I think it has to be done with new graphics. I think Hasbro team with what they've presented, especially when you look at things like CoverGirl's tablet in the past, I think they're going to really surprise us. You know, they're doing a great job over there with using the right kind of layered graphics for some of these 3D prints, so it should be fine. After Crystal Ball, we got into Falcone, and we all know the debate with Falcone was what the F with that head sculpt. Nobody seemed to really like it. It really seemed very fake androidy, big old cleft in his chin. I don't keep my head on that figure. I switch it over to the Grunt steel core helmet every time. I'm sorry, guys. But as you can see, when it comes to the Croc, yeah, the Falcone having a shotgun makes perfect sense, right? Shotguns, so many shotguns. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about fast draw. And there's a good reason why it's just going to be a little bit. It's not often I spend a lot of time thinking all about a character going, come on, you could make it work. Just think about it. And I go online and I see what tech is being played with and who's doing what and everything like this. And then I take my own experience in the military, being a combat arms soldier and being in combat and things like that. And I'm sorry, fast draw just, I couldn't make it work. This is up to somebody else's perspective, but not mine. Not here on the tactical perspective, guys. I cannot picture how to make him work without making it extremely different from the original. Nowhere near the original, aside from the color scheme, I guess. Because nothing about that action figure actually works for me on a ballistic understanding scale. This guy walking around with multiple $1 million, numerous different types of rockets launching off the side of his body, and he is very lightly armored, and all these other things going on. It's just, he doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just going to move on with the one that does. Makes absolute sense to me, guys. Gung-Ho, but in the Marine dress. Okay? We're at the point with Hasbro where we want to let them know they're doing it right, and we are satisfied with some of their finest works. If I could, I would pull out a Major Blood because I think that's one of the finest head sculpts we've seen in the line. And I've only seen the pictures, guys. But yeah, like I said, when it comes to Major Blood, Beachhead, I'm getting ready to pay big dollars for mine, but I'm ready to pay. It's worth it, especially for Major Blood. So we know what they're capable of as far as amazing sculpts. And the widest criticism so far is that despite all other QC issues within the line, there were less, I think, with General Hawk. And a lot of guys are declaring this one probably the best right now. That surpassed their expectations. And so I think that a Marine dress Gung-Ho would definitely be one of the things that would definitely be a big hit figure, and you don't have to do it as a deluxe set. And I would almost say they should be doing this with the 60th anniversary Desert Trooper and the 60th anniversary Frogman. It kind of just jams right in there beautifully between the two anonymous figures to have that iconic gung-ho standing behind him in his Marine dress. And I defy Hasbro to prove me wrong by doing it. Do it, Hasbro. Do it. Do it. Where'd Brent go? Oh, Brent got nervous because the general showed up all of a sudden. He had to go to the bathroom. So after that, we got Jinx, guys. You know Jinx is coming. There still hasn't really kind of been a digital render done of her that's come out of Hasbro that I've been able to find online. They have talked about the new sculpt. Whether or not they're going to do 2 heads, I have no idea. But they are saying they're trying to get really pegged down with some good weapons assortment. And when they identify that weapons assortment, it lends me a lot of promise for, you know, this is just somebody else's rendering of what she could look like. And again, guys, I don't own any of my images off Google. A lot of these come off of toy collector sites and Google, like wherever Google gets me the image from. Make no apologies for it. This is how I do it. I'm max relaxed, super chill, low subscriber rate, but I think some of you are finding me relatable, so it's working, whatever. If I ever get better, maybe some of you would leave. I don't know. Oh, Pooh Bear. Just kidding. So Jinx was one that when you think about the Asian weapon supply, I'm excited that they said they were going to work harder on that, because the last thing I want to see is a remold of a Storm Shadow bow and arrow set and the Washidashi short sword, long sword combination, or seeing nunchucks reappear and saying that this is Jinx's preferred loadout too. What a coincidence. I think she's got a very different style, and I think they can reflect it. One of the things I'd like to see is, because, you know, my family was big into Kung Fu for a while there, and my kid was especially, is some ribbons, some fans, some of these beautiful Oriental ornate weapons of death brought to the field in a way only maybe Jinx can do it. So enough about Jinx. We know she's coming. Who do I have after Jinx? Let's go to Law and Order. Okay, Law and Order I'm not going to say a whole lot about, because, I mean, while I am going to be buying this figure if they put it in the pipeline, and I'm thinking, if I'm working at Hasbro, and that's how I view everything I do, is, Ryan, what if you were part of that team at Hasbro? What would you be responsible to do? I would have to wait at least a year or a couple, like a release or 2 waves before I even tell you guys what he looks like, because there's no way he's not going to end up reusing some of the Mutt and Junkyard kit. And it's not going to be the German Shepherd that gets reused. That German Shepherd will likely be new, but a lot of the figure itself and his loadout would end up borrowing from that kit. And I'm talking about the restraints and the multiple hand signals for the dog, maybe even as far as the weapon and the helmet. So but I could definitely see them doing it. But that came out in 87 as well. And we do know that we have Outback. We have actually multiple Outbacks. We have this traditional Outback here that's just firing warning shots into the general. He's there. We'll get rid of that now. There's a general, brigadier general guy. We also have the Tiger Force variant. So that's been covered. Okay, this is one I really want to kind of get into a little bit. There's a few of these. That's where I was saying 87 standing alone. I want to talk about Psych Out, because Psych Out comes out in 87. And to me, Psych Out is a very viable character with a big opportunity for the classified line to display their understanding of a modern battlefield. All right, so why is psychological warfare important? And why do I feel it's important to the Joes? All right, so I take my experiences from Afghanistan and Iraq. As you guys know, I didn't go to Iraq. But the psychological warfare part comes in when you're trying to disrupt an enemy's morale, take the wind out of their sails and their desire to attack, listening in on their conversations, turning the populace against them. Right, a lot of our missions of late in war were about winning hearts and minds, and it wasn't just to, to help us get the enemy. It was about us trying to trust each other towards a common goal of reconstruction and turning things over to a more responsible regime. So psychological warfare comes in very, very importantly, and I think Psych Out's going to be a prime opportunity. I think what we can expect, yeah, go ahead, fall down. Nope, the general never falls down. The general gracefully wanted to look at the stars. That's what he did. He's looking at the stars. Good job, sir. Enjoy the view. Show me Orion's belt. Okay, so Psych Out is one of those opportunities where I think Joe's going to get modernization treatment here for the classified line. And then if you really want these funky old school radar, like Lego looking dishes, then we can look into doing it on a retro. But let's get the classified addressed. Here's how I think they got to do it. I think you got to be true to that old costume of the gross green on with some silver and then the cash blue pants. That's what people are appreciating about the nostalgia of this line. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this down. But what you got to do is you got to modernize that equipment. There is smaller psychological stuff out there, like that kind of listening stuff and everything like that. And that's what it would really turn into, is more of a spyware listening devices. But you could do stuff like these handheld dishes and acoustic aids and whatnot to kind of reflect what he's doing, and then you can make him more of a sci-fi transmitter, but like a set of speakers like what was hanging off the side of the choppers in Vietnam in Apocalypse Now, blasting the Valkyrie March or whatever it was called there. Those kind of opportunities are there with a character like Psych Out, and still keep them at that regular shelf edition price point. So I've talked about Psych Out. I think that's a good opportunity for them there. After Psych Out, I was going to get into this this was Brent, 100%. Yeah, this is me, totally me. You talking about Raptor, right? Yeah, Raptor. Okay, yeah, that was me. So Raptor here was a boardroom pass that I was like, what the actual F went on in that boardroom with Brent and the boys? Did he give them all party favors? Because this character, in the time that he released Raptor, I was, 13, 14, I was getting into X-Men and girls and school, and I was giving my stuff to my cousin and so it would stay safe. But Raptor came out, and I was like, okay, what is this? Is this how you follow up Spirit? Was that what the intent of Raptor was? To follow up Spirit with like, oh, it's his grandfather or it's his buddy, fire team partner for Spirit? It was ridiculous to me. But you know what, boys? I'm going to tell you right now, if G.I. Joe Classified comes out with a Raptor figure, I'm going to end up buying it because it's probably going to be really friggin' good. God damn it. If anyone's religious, I'm sorry I just did that. I'm not, but I don't disrespect you. But, man, what a useless, absolutely useless character in my army. I don't know how he would be in yours. He's Cobra. Oh yeah, he's Cobra, so he couldn't even be Spirit's fire team partner. I have no interest in that character, but the Serpentor was another character that didn't interest me. Cobra Law are characters that don't interest me. But I see what the Hasbro team does with those kind of goofy appeal characters, and I call it goofy because that's how it is to me. I realize the guys younger than me really liked it, and I apologize if you think I'm shitting on your product. I'm not. But after what I've seen them do with Serpentor and make me want Serpentor in my collection, I have no doubt Raptor, they do it fine. Okay, Sneak Peek is another one I want to talk about, okay? Because he's an advanced recon. And you guys know I'm all about Recce. Time spent on Recce is never wasted. And that's how a majority of my career went down, with some limited tank time and then some teaching time and all these other ops time and things like that. But the Sneak Peek figure as he is, my word, I would love to see this come out, just because I think it's very simple for Hasbro to do because of the way his body kit is, especially Flash Grand Slam. If they were to do characters and complete that first line, they would have access to pretty good molds they could borrow from to do Sneak Peek. But that telescopic lens he's equipped with, I mean, M16 is pretty basic, Bino's pretty basic, helmet pretty basic. That telescopic lens is pretty dated. It's a periscope, obviously. It's meant for long range, looking out, spotting larger targets, And he is certainly not cammed up, so he's not uptight like my recce guys are. He's not cloverleafing a situation. He's on a high feature in a hill somewhere, looking down on the battlefield, trying to spot things for target, like situational awareness. I think we have better ways to do that now, much better ways, and one of them I'm a big advocate for, and I don't care if it's too much modernizing for this line. You get rid of that thing and you put a drone in there. Same deal. You roll the dice again like you did with Shockwave by giving him that riot shield he never had before. You roll those dice again and you get a small aerial drone, surveillance only drone, up into the Joe Grill with one of the modernized laptops. And this is what we bring to the table with Sneak Peek, because that's what modernization makes sense. And I think that would actually pump a new life into that kind of a character. It really would. I think that periscope was one of the hokiest pieces of kit I'd seen. And I know it was based on something that they were looking at back in the 80s, but I have no interest in seeing what it is because it's obsolete, in my opinion. So we got that out of the way. Techno Viper. All right, Hasbro's covered this off for classified. They've doubled down. They've split their aces. They've got the classic Techno Viper on the way, and then of course the one that's coming with the SMS missile system that they've worked on, that should be released in and around somewhere around the Vamp time frame as well. I'm just going to call up those images. You guys don't need whistling. Where did they go? There we go. So we got the Techno Viper with the SMS. Interesting, this heat seek written on those missiles. Interesting spelling. And they've inverted the Joe Jet, the X-30, and said, no, target the X-03. So I don't know how long those missiles will be in the air. I'm just joking, guys. But we also got the classic, regular shelf edition Techno Viper that you remember perhaps in your collection, also coming to you soon. Those are the digital renders as provided by Hasbro.com. And yeah, these are the things I tried to find for that stupid, whatever, fast raw character. And I was like just searching, going, oh my God, the more you try to do with them, the more ridiculous and unbalanced he looks. So enough about that. Where did we leave off? Cobra Law, Tunnel Rats. All right. Oh, we left off about the drone and Techno Vipers. Let's get into Techno Viper. Tunnel Rat. Okay, so we do know that Tunnel Rat came out in '87 as a part of that line. And then we got ours just this year, earlier this year. Everybody was super excited. I think everybody generally was very satisfied with their Tunnel Rats for about a week and a half. And then all of a sudden the news came out that there was another Tunnel Rat coming for Night Force. And those who cared a lot, because it was kind of like saying, hey, you got two really options, but I only showed you one and you bought it. So now if you liked both options, or you could only afford, like they really played with you a little bit on your choice selection. For me, I plan on buying the Night Force Tunnel Rat because I'm a big fan of that bandana. The bandana. That's exactly like the bandana I wore in my second rotation in Afghanistan. I'd love to have that. And I really do like this Night Force Tunnel Rat overall, because there's no major kit changes. There's no stupid new camouflage repaint, bold colors here. It's just a darker version of Tunnel Rat, and I'm fine with that. Who else? So I just got a comment from DMAC right in the middle of this. DMAC, I know I got lost in the comments and I ended up deleting yours because I think I was addressing the thing. And I think it's, I know who it is. That was the paratrooper. I apologize, guys. This is the blessed thing. After I got to 100 subscribers, I get so confused. No. Yeah. You called me out right in the middle of filming, DMAC. Good on you, buddy. So we're going to move on now from the Tunnel Rat to some of the more ridiculous stuff that was coming out, in my opinion. I'm just going to glaze over some of this stuff. But before I do, just a couple mail orders. Starduster came out in '87. I didn't know anything about this. I learned about this as I went along. I had no access. Steel Corps, Steel Brigade, we know it's out now. We all have seen them on the shelves, the Jetpack Infantry that they've allowed us to customize. The only thing I'm going to say on that one is, man, I wish they had taken that patch and put that in the box with these new ones. I think that's a nice nostalgic throwback. And then we'll get back because this was important. I didn't want to forget about them. Another big piece on that, guys. The mail order William the Refrigerator Perry from 1985, recruited to the Chicago Bears. The Bears. I'm not a football fan, but my God, even as a child, I was saturated with William Perry stuff. All of the 80s, pretty much late 80s, because he was a juggernaut on the gridiron. We know this, and they made a Joe out of him. It was the second athlete they ever did after Slaughter than him. And then you guys remember, he look, Yo Joan. Okay, and then Mike Ditka, the legendary Bears coach, and Super Bowl. And then, of course, the SNL skit, The Bears. Okay, Ditka versus Olive Colebrook. Ditka wins, Colebrook retires. Okay, so we got all that covered. I said I would get into the ridiculous stuff, and then I'm just going to go over some of the vehicles that I think have potential in 87. Remember, 87, Brent was also in charge of the designs there. Okay, so we had the... Where did that one go? Battle Force. This ridiculous stuff. Battle Force 2000. Somebody's envisioning of what somebody named Brent's envisioning of what Joe should look like in the year 2000. And it was all very sci-fi adventure. I'm not even giving them the benefit of the names. You guys can just follow along. I want to keep this video a bit shorter. We talked about these guys. All right. So Battle Force 87 got explored out. And of course, with figures, what comes is vehicles. Stupid little accessories packs. And by stupid, I mean stupid simple, and we should be doing them for the classified line as well. They came out, they were on number 5 there, and then the Cobra Jetpack. More of these silly little garbage stocking stuff for low budget. I shouldn't call them garbage. Low budget, lower price point vehicles were coming out. And that was more about trying to even get the families that couldn't afford Joe into Joe. You can't fault the toy company for trying, but man, it sucked to see. Okay, you had things like the Coastal Defender, the Buzzbore, and then the Cobra Mamba. If anybody remembers these silly things, that was a vehicle that came out. I guess I'm talking about vehicles right now. All the Cobra Mamba reminds me of is I was reminded of the Cobra Mamba when I was watching a show called Community, and they did this amazing G.I. Joe episode where the main character goes into a coma, and he's dreaming about the relevance of Joe in his life, and all his friends are ex-Joes like him, and they all have these awesome nicknames. But in there was a vehicle called the Submachopter, and that was a shout out to the Mamba, no doubt. So what other vehicles we had? We had the Pogo, which is just basically a frog bouncing around on the battlefield. It's like Cubert, if anybody remembers the old video games, the original video games. This thing reminds me so bad of a Cubert level, and I just want to squish it. So we got the Cobra Pogo, Cobra Sea Ray taking the battle of the air, and with every new vehicle, we get a new Viper of some point, or Serpent of some point. So those army builders are just... they're piling up as far as like, well, here comes a whole bunch of Serpents and Vipers, more options for you, and it's going to start getting colorful on the battlefield. If they ever do these, I'm saying. I don't think they're going to do most of these, guys. Cobra Wolf, we'll see how the Arctic line goes, but that one does have potential because it's simple and it's not a bad design. And that Arctic premise, I said, it's going to get built up at some point. I wish up here in Canada I had access to the Crossfire and Rumbler, but I never even knew it existed, so I never had it. I would have been excited about that. Some more cheap ones with the one Persuader with backstop. This one I thought was relevant, the Road Toad BRV Battlefield Recovery Vehicle with guns. We actually do need more Battlefield Recovery vehicles. We don't have anything really represented, but I was a big fan of either keeping it a recovery trailer or turning it into a platform anti-air weapon. I think there's potential in there when we look at things that are towable by the Vamp, and whether or not they want to make some of those old artillery pieces work in a new design or just do something different. Where do we leave off there? We got the Slam slam it on the ground, walk away, in my opinion. And then the 2000 nut bar stuff. Pardon me for calling it nut bar. For anybody who had this stuff and really liked it, I do apologize. It was a different generation of Joe fan that this was targeted for, and I was not on that list. Okay, so we got all those vehicles, and then we got a risky playset. I just wanted to draw eyes on here, guys, because okay. We'll talk about 2 more vehicles, then I'll talk about the playset. This I can see happening, and I can see these 2 happening not too far down the road. Y'all screaming for Road Pig and Monkey Ranch and everything like that. What about Zanzibar and his skiff? If you think about how the Dreadnoks are being developed, I can easily see it, Zanzibar and his skiff showing up in some form. However, I'm not a big fan of that skiff and how it showed up. If I start thinking about how I want the Dreadnoks and their bike gang to go down, because that's what they are, guys. They're bikers, basically. That's how Buzzer linked up with them. That's what you see in most of the time. And that's a toy that came out in 87 with them, was them and their bike, right? Sorry, I didn't show you the box art first, but there you go. This was out in 87 to give the Dreadnought some transportation. Okay, so what... Can you imagine the guys at Hasbro making some sort of versatile kit that allowed you to build variants of bikes for the Dreadnoks based off a trike chassis like that, but using inspiration like these? Okay, and you, especially like this, the post-apocalyptic styles, right, that we're known for. Oh, there's a clue. So I definitely see some potential in those 2 kits coming out a lot earlier than we lined. Just remember, some of the stuff we haven't classified now is actually from 88, 89. So never say never with this stuff. We got the Cobra Law 3-pack that came out back then. That included Nemesis Enforcer, Globulus, and I don't remember who else. I want to say the Lady Assassin. Let's go up. Find the picture. This one. So yeah, I think this is the standard trooper with them, but that came out in conjunction. We also had this Marauders. We hear a lot of people asking for Mercer. We don't know where the Mad Marauders stand, and I have no idea if there's been any talk with Brad and the guys at Hasbro about bringing these guys back, right, Brad? So we've got that, and you know, as much as I say that's hokey, and that's when I was getting out of it, and it just goes along with Battle Force, I was losing my interest. Again, same point I made for Raptor I would make with these guys, especially when I do look at some of the art that has gone with these guys. And I think about this, and I'm like, okay, but give the guys at Hasbro a break. Do you not think that they would make a good job? And like I said, Serpentor, yeah, absolutely. I think they would. I think I would end up with these guys in my collection regardless of whether I like the actual character, more about liking the job they did with it, right? So I said I wanted to talk about 2 other little sets here. Just making sure that's it. Yeah, we'll get through. Little cheap action toys that you probably could have gotten out of a gumball machine were hitting the shelves right before Christmas. Quick retraction to my 86 video. I don't think I showed you guys the digital renders of Airborne and Quick Kit to support the fact that they are in the pipe, but we're going to be seeing them at some point in the line shortly. So what did I want to talk about? Those play sets. I'm going to talk about just one, really, but I'm going to show you the both. So first place that we'll talk about, Mobile Command Steamroller. If you guys want to picture a Jawa sandcrawler from Tatooine in the movie Star Wars New Hope, it's like that, but it unfolds out into a playset. I never saw it. I didn't know anyone who had it. I kind of liked the appeal of these large playsets, but I was too old for it at that time. It certainly wasn't worth the financial investment to buy it for me. This one surprised me a little bit. You got to remember, we were, which space shuttle was it? Challenger or Columbia? We were just coming out of the era where the space shuttle had just blown up a couple of years prior for the first time. I think it was Columbia or Challenger. Pardon me, guys, for not following up that history. And out comes this massive playset follow-up to the flag that Hasbro gambles on. And I'm looking at it as an adult. And again, Brad... What the actual... Come back here. What the actual F were you thinking, man? So it just confused me so much given the space shuttle disaster at the time and how the nation was feeling about all that they would come up with this big Defiant set. And and ignore that this wasn't that long ago for parents, and you're asking them to pay a hefty dollar for it. And I was like, I think that's another thing that was starting to happen with G.I. Joe in 87 as I bring this to a close today, guys, is at this point, I feel like this is when they lost sight of what that mission statement was, to build up this action force and make it appealing and be patriotic by reflecting their military in heroic ways. They went beyond their military. They went beyond their business sketches. They went beyond the vision of what G.I. Joe was supposed to be. And it started to creep in more in 87. And so my next video, guys, will be about 88, and it's probably going to be a lot shorter. This one had to be long, guys, because they had a lot of stuff, and I had a lot of goofy things to say about it. But quick shout out to all the new subscribers out there. And by all of them, I don't mean there's that many, and I had them written down, but I know there's a couple of Ryans that just joined us. I know Always Fresh just joined us. 112 Giles just joined us. Raymond, you joined us. Thank you so much, guys. This is my channel. I do it slow, but I do it my way. And if you're a subscriber, you were the exact market I wanted to find, and this is the size that the channel needs to be. It'll take us a while to get to where I can get giveaways going, but who cares? I'm having a good time, as long as you are too. I'll see you guys next time. If you like this, hit like, do it. If you like it enough to share it with somebody that you think might enjoy it, and I realize you guys are a certain demographic and probably aren't social media like me, but if you do share stuff, feel free to share it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I will see you next time, guys. Take care.